Hey everyone, my name is Chris Ferner. I am a sales engineer over here at Blumira, and I wanted to talk to you today about the experience that you'll have getting started as a Blumira customer, kind of what it looks like to get up and running quickly in the portal, and give you an idea what the day-to-day experience is when you're using Blumira. So uh, the setup process is really very easy. You can get up and running on some of the most important integrations in really just a few minutes. So what we see a lot of people start with is because of the popularity of Office 365 and how easy it is to set up. We see a lot of people start by setting up Office 365. So in the Blumira portal, which you're seeing here, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the settings section and you're going to access cloud connectors. Now we have a number of integrations that we can support as a cloud connector. And what a cloud connector means is that this is an API-based integration where you're just going to just drop API key information into our portal. And then we're going to just pull the logs from that service straight into our cloud SIEM. So no infrastructure required, no really ongoing upkeep and maintenance of the integration on your part. We're taking care of all of that. We're going to ingest and store the logs and, then do the security things on the logs. So I'm going to go real quick and I'm going to walk through the 365 setup process just to show you how easy that is. Um, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I'm going to add 365 Cloud Connector. You're going to click on it and you're going to see this window. And the window is going to have our setup guide. So very well documented setup process for all of our integrations. We're going to make it as easy as possible for you. So this link's going to pop you into this page here, and it's going to walk you through a couple of things. The first thing it's going to advise you to do is you're going to check and make sure the audit login is turned on for your 365 tenant. This is turned on by default for new tenants now, but there's a lot of older 365 tenants where audit login is not enabled. So it's always a good idea to start by making sure the audit logging is enabled. If 365 is not generating audit logs, it really limits our ability to monitor that environment. So you're going to go to the Compliance Center and you're going to go to the audit logging section. You're going to make sure that you don't see the blue button for turn on audit logging. We kind of show a picture here. If you see start recording user admin activity, that means that audit logging is not on right now. You need to turn it on. So you'll do that first. It'll take a little bit of time for Microsoft to complete that enable process, but you'll do that first to make sure that that process gets started. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go through and gather the credentials from the 365 tenant and bring those over into Blumira. So you're going to start by going to what they now call Microsoft Intra, what you probably know as Azure AD or Azure Active Directory. And you're going to go to Applications and App Registrations. So we're going to go and say New Registration, and we're going to give it a name. This name can really be anything that makes sense for you. And you're going to give it a name, and you're going to say Register. And so then we're going to start by getting an overview here, and we're going to grab two pieces of information right here that we need for the Blumira side. So we need the application ID. I'll copy that and go over here. We're going to say application ID. We're going to paste it. And then we're going to grab the tenant ID right here. Copy that. Go over here and paste it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and give this app registration the permissions that it needs to operate. So we're going to go to API permissions. And we're going to say add permission. And we're going to find the management APIs, which is this red circle right here. There's red O. Click on that. Then we're going to say we need application permissions without a signed in user. And we're going to check these first two, the ability for us to read information out of 365. And we're going to say add permissions. And then the really important part is check this box. This is kind of like a save box. Without checking that, it's not going to enable those permissions. So we're going to save them. All right, we're all done there. And then we're going to create a secret. So we're going to say new client secret. We can give it a name. Our recommendation is to let these secrets be at least run for a year. That just reduces the amount of time that you need to go in and renew this API secret. So we're going to give this an expiration of 1 year. We're going to say add. And then it's going to give you this secret in here. And you're going to only see the secret one time. What you want is out of here is a secret value, not the secret ID. This is just kind of like an ID for the secret. You're going to want the value itself. This is the actual API key secret. So we're going to copy that. And you could save that to a credential manager if you wanted to, in case you might need to access it later. You can't expose that value after you leave this page. So you're going to go over here and you're going to say value and you're going to paste it. And then you're going to say connect. And it's going to take a few seconds to validate the credentials. and then it's going to initialize, and then it's going to start pulling in 365 logs. So once we start getting 365 logs, Blumira is going to automatically deploy the relevant detection rules. So not a step you need to complete there in terms of enabling detection rules. We're going to do that when we start getting those logs. So you're going to kind of, set it and forget it. You're going to go in and enable these integrations, and then we're going to do all that stuff behind the scenes to start parsing the logs, storing the logs, and deploy the detection rules. So very easy process there. You'll see in a little bit that the logs will start to show up here, and then you'll see within an hour or so, you'll see detection rules deploy. So this environment already has detection rules deployed, but you'll see the detection rules start to populate in there once we detect the logs coming in from that integration. So a lot of other opportunities you have here to enable other things. You use Mimecast, maybe you use Sentinel-1, maybe you use Sophos, maybe you use Duo. These are all accessible integrations that you'd have access to. Again, documented, trying to make the steps as easy as possible for you. So yeah, so after you get 365 enabled, next very easy thing that you can do is you can deploy some endpoint agents. So our endpoint agent supports Mac OS, Linux, as well as the most popular Windows. So maybe you want to deploy a Windows agent. What you're going to do is you're going to create an installation key. So you'll just go here and say create new installation key. You'll give it a name. The idea here is that you want one installation key for your entire organization. You don't need to have different ones for different endpoints. You don't need to have different ones for different servers and workstations. Just one installation key for the entire organization is perfectly fine. That's the easiest way to manage things. So you'll select your installation key you've just created here, and we're going to then give you an installation script. And so for Windows, it's just a PowerShell script. So you're going to just grab this and copy it. And then through the magic of technology, we're going to expose our Windows server. And so you're going to just go ahead and just paste that script into there, and you're going to run it. And so the deployment script is going to validate that this endpoint is ready to install. It's going to download the agent installer. It's going to configure it, and then it'll tell you that you're all done. So this process takes, in real time here, just a couple of seconds. So once it's done, it'll tell you that's done, and then we'll go back into Blumira and we'll see that, hey, now we've got a new Windows endpoint in there. So very easy process. We're completed there. So the idea here is that, you deploy these agents. If you've got an orchestration or management system that you can use to deploy this automatically, that's the ideal way to do it. That way you're not having to do a lot of manual onboarding steps. But you deployed the agents. Now we're going to go in here in devices, and it's still getting ready to check in here, but this is our agent we just deployed here. So very quick process to deploy new agents. Once we get those Windows agents and can start getting those Windows logs, same thing, we're going to deploy detection rules for Windows automatically. So between these two things, we spent 5 minutes deploying 365 and deploying a Windows agent. You're up and running pretty quickly here. So those are the kind of the two most easy ways to get started with Blumira and get some critical logs flowing. The next thing you could do after that, maybe you want to deploy some firewall logs. We support pretty much every major firewall in the market, FortiGate, WatchGuard, Cisco products, Meraki, pfSense. So we support pretty much all the firewalls on the market. Just gives you an idea and a few. We ingest those firewall logs via syslog. So we do that ingestion process via what we call a sensor. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a sensor in the portal, and that's going to give you this installation script. So kind of similar to the idea with the agent, you're going to follow our instructions to deploy a Linux VM, and then you're going to grab this installation script and you're going to run it on the Linux VM. So this is still another very quick thing. I'm not going to walk through it in this video, but probably 15, 20 minutes to download the ISO, to deploy the VM, to install our sensor code on the VM, and then that part is done. So you get that part done, and then you're just going to go into your firewall. You're going to configure the firewall to ship its syslog to Blumira, and then we're going to start getting those logs as well. And again, well documented. We have docs for all the firewalls we support. So you're going to just, pick your firewall. You're going to go in here. You're going to follow the instructions to configure the logging. And then, we're going to get those logs. The logs flow through that sensor up into our cloud platform, stored in our cloud platform. And then we're going to do security detection against them. So as we get those logs into our platform, The next thing that's going to happen is, if we see signs of attacker behavior, misconfigured systems, misbehaving users, maybe risks that might lead to an attack down the road, then our detection rules are going to let you know about that. So after you get things up and running and you're on board with Blumira, the next step is going to be basically waiting for Blumira to say, hey, we found something that you might want to look at. It might be something like a priority 3 where you'd say, okay, this is not an urgent thing, but it might lead to something that is risky, or we might want to investigate it as soon as we get a chance. Or it might be a priority 1 where it's like, hey, this might be signs of an attacker in your environment right now. So when Blumira has a trigger of a detection rule, we call that a finding. And that's kind of like a security ticket. So we'll email you by default whenever we trigger a finding. We can also text or call you, automated text or automated phone call as well to notify you that this is going on. So you can configure some of that, and I'll talk to you more about that in a minute about what you can do to configure your alerts. So, we're going to let you know that there's a finding. You'll click on the link in the email. You'll go into the portal, and you're going to say, all right, here's the details in the finding. So in this case, this is a suspicious inbox rule. So we're going to say, all right, I'm going to assign myself as the responder. It's kind of a chain of custody thing to show who's working on the ticket. You can have multiple people assigned. And then you're going to say, okay, these workflows right here. These workflows are great ways to walk you through the process to investigate and troubleshoot and resolve these issues. So these workflows are generated for all the findings that we create. Also, things that you get automatically when we create a new finding is the analysis. So this analysis is going to break down the raw log into easily to understand language. It's going to explain to you what happened. It's going to explain to you sometimes why it happened, what the steps might be to resolve these. But you can go through these workflows and you can say, okay, a new rule is created. Here's the user. Let's look at the details and see. So we can say, okay, this was not, maybe this was not a suspicious or not a suspicious rule. We can say, no, this looks fine to me. Or we can say, is the name of the rule suspicious? Yeah. So we can say, okay, the rule is suspicious. Let's go to the next step. And, it's going to then say, if it's a suspicious looking inbox rule, this is probably a compromised account. Let's take steps to, reset the user's account, force all users that are logged in to be logged out. So these workflows are a great way to, not just throw you a raw log and say, here, deal with it, figure it out, but to really explain to you, the decision-making process and the thought process to, security response. So these workflows are a great tool. It's included with Blumira. It really helps you to have actionable intelligence and not just a raw log you've got to figure out. So we do, of course, show you the raw log if you want to see it. So in details here, we'll show you the information about, what inbox rules were created, information about who created them, the criteria for the inbox rule. So yeah, depending on the type of finding we receive, you're going to see relevant logs in here to, see what actually happened. But of course, we're trying to give you more than just a raw log, trying to give you explanation as to what happened. So other tools we have in here are detection filters. So this is a way for you to just say, okay, maybe this user is going to create inbox rules all the time. And, we're confident that we've got good security controls on their account. We're confident that we're not going to have a breach in this account, and we don't want to get this noise. So we could say, okay, if the user that triggers a detection rule, is this user, then we'll give it a name, um, maybe we just don't, we don't want to get notifications for that anymore. So this gives you a way to tune detection rules to keep things relevant, to keep the noise low and the information level high. So, available to you to use to tune rules and make sure that you're not getting, noise when it's not needed. Another thing I was going to show you about noise. So we do some things to reduce the amount of noise that you'll get from Blumira. So in some cases, a finding may be triggered by just one distinct activity that's happening. In some cases, a finding may be triggered by an ongoing activity that's going on over and over again. So let's say that this is the SSH connection attempt to a server that's exposed to the outside. So looks like this is 187 instances of somebody over a short period of time trying to SSH into the server. So this is one finding. This is one alert to you. As this activity is ongoing for the next 24 hours, we would continue to add this ongoing activity into this finding. So we're not going to email you every single time this happens. We're going to email you one time and say, hey, this is ongoing. You need to address it. And then we're not going to just keep banging away with emails over and over. So, low noise, high level information, trying to, get you the relevant information without overwhelming you with noise and, causing alert fatigue. So really good, access there to, see all this information to get good level of detail on how to respond, but without the trouble of, getting blown up with repeated, emails or maybe SMS texts or phone calls about, what's going on. Other things, of course, we're giving you a lot of information here to, to basically self-help, to do it yourself, to respond to these, but it doesn't mean that you're all alone. So Blumira includes support with, the use of our product. Depending on the edition, you would have access to both business hours as well as after hours support. So you would have the ability to call us to get support, email us to get support. You can also request support right inside the product here. So you could type in a message here, explaining, what questions you have. I don't know how to proceed. I need more information, so on. And you can click this send to support. And so that's going to package this finding up your note and send it all to support. So that way you get a meaningful response back the first time around, because the support's going to see the whole context to your question and not have to ask you more information. But hey, what are you looking at? What finding ID is it? They're going to see all that right away. So very efficient way for you to access support. Our support team has great response times. They hit well in excess of their SLAs. They're very experienced in both our product as well as security. So no matter if your question is, how to use the product or something specifically related to a security incident in your environment, they're there to assist. Other things to know, this is really the root security value of Blumira is this is the findings, this is how you'd interact with when we find security problems in your environment. Other things that you'd have access to that are great. All the logs that we ingest are kept hot. They're all available for you to access. So Report Builder, this is a way for you to leverage the logs that we received. So maybe you want to get some logs from, some logs from Windows. Maybe you want to troubleshoot maybe a bad driver update or whatever. We're getting all those logs. There's a lot of value to use those logs in the portal. So maybe you want to say, okay, I want to see, just this one event ID. So I'm going to say add to filters. I'll search again. You're drilling down on the logs very efficiently here. You can of course go in and say, I want to, look at things from a certain device name or a certain user. You can build your own criteria for a search in here. So the logs are all very easily accessible to you. You can set your time ranges for, what you want to look for in the logs. We also have a very large catalog of pre-built reports. So maybe you want to see something we've already, built in here. So we have, catalogs for AD reports, catalogs for 365 for different firewalls, things for ISO 27001. We have some NIST reports in here as well. So we've built a lot of things in here. So we might shortcut your process to try to drill down on the logs and find something. So there's a lot of things you can use these logs for once we have them. Again, the logs that we ingest are kept hot. Our XDR and SIEM Plus editions both are keeping those logs for 1 year. So those logs are all available to you to use for a long period of time. This long-term log retention is becoming more and more prevalent for compliance, regulatory reasons, as well as insurance. So, this is a really easy way to, complete some of those requirements to make sure you're insurable, that you're in compliance, that sort of thing. Other great ways you can leverage the logs that we receive and the reports that we create is you can do schedule reports. So maybe you've got a compliance step that requires you audit new AD users once a month. Really easy process there. You're going to use our schedule reports feature. You're going to say, okay, I want to pick this saved report. I want to decide, who I want it to go to, give it a name, and I want to get it, once a month. I want it to get out the first day of the month at 1 a.m. So, these are really easy ways to automate access to the logs. You can both use the pre-built reports that we have as well as any custom report that you've built in the product. So very easy ways for you to cut down the amount of time required to use these logs for routine tasks. There's a lot of things that happen in the logs. We cast a very broad net in terms of what logs we ingest. We ingest a lot of logs that don't apply directly to our detection rules because we don't know what you might need in the future. So there's a lot of logs in there for things like, again, drivers, regular Windows functions, regular user activity that you can use after the fact to troubleshoot, audit, investigate, that sort of thing. So as I mentioned before, you can also tune your notification settings in Blumira. So we do categorize our detection rules in a couple of ways. We categorize them as threat, suspect, and risk. Priority 1 threat is our most urgent detection rule. priority 3 risk is a much lower urgency detection rule. So you can tier how your alerts are being received. Maybe you want to get emails and everything, but you want to get texted for, priority ones. You can go in there and pick, how you get, you know, when you get text, how you get it notified. You can, of course, also integrate, you can also add a user for your ticketing system. So maybe you've got a ticketing system, you want to get those tickets sent into you. You can go in and you can add a user and say, all right, I want to add a ticketing user. I want them to get the emails as well. That way you can, assign and triage that work if that applies to you. So that's, kind of the security aspect of Blumira, how you're going to interact with the Blumira product. We do also have dashboards that you can use to do periodic checkups on Blumira. These dashboards are not anything you need to live in a day in, day out basis. These are going to be things that you could, again, use for periodic checkups. But, like I've shown you, we're going to do notifications to you when things are happening that we think you need to know about. So you're not going to miss out on any, very risky activity by not living in these dashboards every day. If you want to do a checkup once a day or whatever, we have the ability for you to do that. We have some useful dashboards that might help you to, just do checkups over time. We'll populate some of these tiles based on what kind of logs we're getting for you, and that might help you to, just look at trends, that sort of stuff. Also, speaking of trends, we do also generate executive reports once a month. So these are going to give you a something tangible you can show to management to show the value in the investment of Blumira and show you what Blumira has been finding and doing in the environment on a regular basis. So we'll generate these once a month plus once a quarter, and these are going to show you information including how much data we've retained, how many findings we generated, how many were threats, where these logs came from, categorization of the findings that we generated, top 10 types of findings we had. So really good ways to show, the ongoing value of security tools and, what Blumira is doing to protect the company. So that's included in all of our additions. Those generate in the product automatically as a PDF. You can also enroll to have those emailed to you. You can do a little bit of customization in terms of logos and some of the page descriptions. So this is a tool you can use again to, show value, show the management that Blumira is working for you every day, that sort of thing. And that's really the quick rundown on, how Blumira is going to work for you. Again, there's a lot that we're doing in the background to make things easy for you and to manage things. The detection rules, like I showed you, are being deployed automatically when you integrate new products. We're also doing the upkeep and management of those rules over time to keep them up to date with the current threats, keep them updated with the changes in how logs come out of vendors over time. So that's all things that we're doing for you. So trying to take the day-to-day in-depth management off your hands, make things easier for you, let you spend more time doing user support, doing proactive upgrades and projects and that sort of thing, and less time maintaining another platform. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today, and I really encourage you to talk to Blumira further if you want to see a trial in your environment. You have more detailed questions on how Blumira works for you, how it might solve your problems. We're definitely there to help and answer any questions you might have. Thanks.